Hey, what's happening? This is Gary McNeil. I'm sure you know who I am by now. But I am what these guys call the Grandpa Pud. And these are the original Puds. Can I get your name?
Jerry McNeil.
Just Mullins.
Speak up, guys.
James Young.
Mark Thompson.
Kevin Gibson.
Zach Dallmeyer.
Zach Dallmeyer. These are the original Puds. And what I'd like to tell you a little bit about these guys is when they were freshmen, they made goals. They set goals for their senior year. And one of the goals was they would never get beat by West Jeff. They accomplished that. The next goal was they would go undefeated. They accomplished that. The next goal was they would go to the state. They accomplished that. Our next goal is hopefully we're going to win the state, and that's like we're going to win it. But by the same token, they're still the Puds. They want to call me Grandpa Puds, but these guys are really the Puds. I'm going to shut my mouth. Hey guys, what's going on here, guys? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Okay. That's great. Let me out of here. Let me out of here. Thank you. Get it out of here. Thanks, guys. Okay, the original Puds, guys. Once again, give them some play. The original Puds. These are the backbone. These are the backbone of this team right here. Space this one here to piles on after the show's over. Goodbye, guys. Adios. Follow me, Carl. That's good.
Certainly what a special senior tackle it is for me, and I know it is for Coach E, and certainly for all the senior parents who've been through the wars with us the last, really last 3 years. And of all the groups of kids that I've ever coached, I don't know if I've ever seen a group of kids who have overcome more than what this group of seniors have had to overcome. Always before the senior class, they had the opportunity to watch a class ahead of them be successful. And these guys have been part of the program for really 4 years and haven't had anybody to show them the way from a success point of view. And it's always hardest when you do it first time. And in a lot of ways, I was telling Coach E the other day, it's like 3 years ago we started all over again trying to rebuild the program. And playing Shark and Johnson and Zach and Gibby and all those guys before they were ready to play. And to see all the distractions and everything that took place last year when we were 1-9 and everybody knew we should have been better than 1-9, but weren't able to get over the hump. And to understand how hard those guys worked from December 1st until August 1st in the off season when nobody was watching. I heard Coach E, or read Coach E said in tonight's paper, I've heard him say it a number of times, people think this just falls out of the sky. They don't understand the effort and the energy that went into this 10-0 football season. The number of times we ran up and down those big reds and pushed the van and flipped the tires, all with the idea in mind of how great we were going to be. But as I said the other day, and I think it was in the paper, I don't remember where, the greatest thing that you can ever do, guys, in your life is to learn to be an overcomer, is to learn to overcome obstacles, because the older you get, the more obstacles are going to be laid in your path. And I think this senior class overcame so many things that nobody ever thought they would be able to do. And to be able to come out here on this football field, this one in particular, and do what they've done this year just is unbelievable. And I, as a coach and as a parent, just have to say to all you guys, I could not be more proud of this group of Red Raiders. And just wanted to say that before we get started. Coach, did you have anything you wanted to add as a daddy?
I'm just ready, man. Let's go.
Just ready to go. We told Daryl Dawson at the press when he did the nice article on Zach and Jake. I don't know if you saw that today. We wanted to spread the gravy a little bit, because I remember when Kevin Gibson was a water boy. And I remember when Kevin Landis carried the flag. I remember how much this has been a part of all those guys' lives. And as those of us who are old people understand, life goes by so fast. And it's great to be able to see these guys be able to finish the way they finished. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring them out one at a time. We're going to give them an opportunity to say something, a couple questions that they're going to answer. Excuse me. Going to pick who's going to hold their dummy, and then they're going to go smack their dummy. And it's, again, with a great deal of respect that I feel honored to be able to do this. I always try to start with the guys who are newest to the program, so I would really bring two of them. Z-Bats, you're the first guy up here. This is Kevin Batros. Kevin moved in from Zanesville in the summer, and he was out here all summer doing all this stuff with us, and he had no idea what he was getting into, coming in from a football program in Maysville or wherever it was he'd been. But I don't think he had any idea how good the Red Raiders were. But every week that he's been out with us, he hasn't played as much as he wants to play. He's there every week. He's in the weight room working his butt off, and he told me last night that his bench went from, what was it, Kevin?
180 to 240.
180 to 240 in the 4 or 5 months that he's been with us here in our football program. And I just wish we could have had some more time to work with Kevin as a younger football player to help him to develop. But he keeps his mouth shut, comes and does whatever we ask him to do, and they will never take away the fact that Kevin Batros was on a 10-0 football team. No matter how old he gets, he can lie as much as he wants to and say he was a tailback. They'll never know he was on a 10-0 football team. Kevin, what's been your most memorable moment, man?
Well, the fact that I knew in the beginning that we had it. We had 10-0 coming. I knew he was working hard for it. And all the stuff I heard from last year, I'm not going to believe it because I know we're better than that.
That's it, buddy.
We came out here and we did what we needed to do, and we're not stopping yet. We worked too hard.
Any words of wisdom?
We're going all the way.
All the way. Who's going to hold your dummy?
Nobody.
Yeah, somebody's got to hold it. John.
Back up, give him some room. Stick it, Pat. Stick it, man. Like you need it. Like you need it. Stick it. Come on. Hey.
You do know this. David was here a few years ago and left and went to Hawaii or wherever and came back, and it took me the longest time to realize it was the same guy. I just didn't realize it. He came up once the season got going and asked if he could come out, so he came out late. And of course, to come out late as a senior puts you behind anyway. But I heard Coach Emmett say something that Pep probably really stuck with me, Dave, is you had the option not to come out. You had the option not to be part of the program. And just like Kevin Batros, your picture's going to hang up in there forever. You will have been part of a 10-0 football team, and you were here every day giving us everything you had. And we sure do respect you for that, because that place is full of guys who wouldn't pay the price, and you did. What's your most memorable moment?
You were one of the first players to play on this field.
First one to play on this field, that's true. You were, they'll never take it away. Words of wisdom?
Just keep all the freshmen on you, keep trying so you can be good your freshman year.
Work hard.
Your senior year.
Mahalo, right, buddy? Yep. Mahalo. Who's going to hold his dummy?
I don't care, whoever wants to get down there.
Who wants to hold his dummy? All right, Dre's got it. Buddy?
You gotta stick it.
Mouthpiece in.
Mouthpiece in, man. Full tilt. Full tilt. Full tilt.
You know, Pat worked all in the off season. He never played football before, had you, Pat? First year playing football, never played a lick of it. And I think, not to make, if I say something that sounds offensive, he knows what I'm talking about. He's not offended. Football's a sport that looks easy to play till you have to get out there and do it. And he got up there all last winter and put in the time and effort and energy in the weight room to be a football player, wanted to be a kicker. And I think when he got out here during two-a-days, it was really kind of a shock to him because it was far more than what he'd ever understood it to be. And actually at one point decided he didn't want to play anymore and walked away for about 4 or 5 days and came back and said, hey, he thinks he'd still like to do it. And I say about Pat the same thing I say about all those other guys. A lot of times when you quit, you have second thoughts, but most guys don't have the courage to come back and say, hey, I made a mistake. I'd still like to be part of it. We made him earn his stripes. He wanted to be the kicker, and I wasn't going to give in to him just because he wanted to be the kicker. And then when Sean got hurt, whenever the heck that was, what game was it, Pat?
Lakewood.
Stepped into Lakewood and banged some points for us, and I think it's shown himself to be a pretty remarkable guy for doing it for the first time. He drives me nuts because he kicks too much during practice, but other than that, I guess you could say worse things about a guy, right?
Repeat what he says for us, okay, real quick? Whatever he says, because we're having a hard time hearing down here.
Oh, whatever he says, and repeat. So Pat's most memorable moment was?
Probably when, there's like 3 of them, but I don't want to say 2.
Say them, man.
first time going out with all these great guys, man, and it's going wild and stuff, guys being part of a family. The second part is walking out on Lakewood the first time and just having everybody go wild. That's something I don't think I'll ever experience again.
Made a point.
Yeah.
You made a point. Got any words of wisdom?
Whatever you do and stuff, try your hardest, because you don't know if it's going to be your last chance at anything, you know. Just try your hardest all the time.
I know this, Pat Mead's tougher today than he was 3 months ago, any way you cut it. And he's 10-0, and his picture's going to be up on the wall. Yeah.
Oh, Coyle was begging me, so I'm going to let Coyle hold it.
All right, Coyle.
Oh! Come on, Pat. Stick it, Pat. Stick it. All right.
Excuse me.
You can't hear when they talk.
No. Don't speak up.
Here's a story I remember about Mark Thompson. Come down here, Mark, where they can hear that. Come on, Mark. We were down at our camp out, down stuck on a rock, down at Hyco, West Virginia, getting ready to camp out. We're sitting around our campfire. We're talking about next year's team. And Mark Thompson said to me, says, you know, Coach, sometimes I feel like if you're not one of the better players, that you don't get the attention of everybody else. Sometimes I feel like I'm kind of a second-class citizen. I said to him, I said, Mark, would you tell me why you couldn't be the outside linebacker? He just looked at me. I think it was at that point that he realized that whatever he wanted to do was something that was going to have to be done by him. It couldn't be that we played him because we liked him or didn't like him or liked his mom or didn't like his mom. It had to be him going out on the field and performing. Now, he busted his butt in the weight room, was always prepared, but I think at that night, at that campfire, I believe he got over that hump of blaming everybody else. And he has stepped up and given us an unbelievable year. Got a lot of heart, plays hard, tries to do exactly what you tell him to do. Right, Mark? And he's one of those guys, man. He's been through the wars. 10-0. Think about that. 7 of them in the history of London High School. And he's part of them. The most memorable moment.
Starting first time, Kenton Ridge.
Starting first time, Kenton Ridge, for those of you who can't hear down there.
And I guess my advice would be to just work hard. I mean, bust your butt and play with everything you got and try to do what you're supposed to do.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Who's holding you down there?
Jesse, Bus, and my little brother.
Oh, that'd be three.
Come on, Thompson.
Get a mark.
Stick that. Stick it. Back up, Scott. Give him some room.
Right there. Woody.
Woody.
We're worried about Woody because, first of all, we called him, Woody was a nickname we gave him this year because we started out as Big Red and then he's kept shrinking and became Smaller Red and then he became Woodpecker and then became Woody. That's kind of where the name came from because he kept getting smaller. He played last year at about 235 pounds and now he's playing at about what, 205. And I know he was concerned in the offseason, we were too, the fact that he was going to be able to play offensive tackle at 205 pounds. And I think he lost a little bit of his heart because he thought, I'm doing all this weightlifting and I'm not going to be able to play. But what he didn't understand is when he lost all that weight, he picked up a lot of speed. They gave him the quickness to be able to go down and get on the linebacker. And last Friday night against Greenfield, Woody ran down their quarterback in the far corner of the football field to save a touchdown. He started basically on and off from the time he's been a sophomore. So you talk about a guy who has been through the trenches, been in there digging the whole way through. It does my heart so good to see Woody be 10-0 because if anybody heard it, it's this guy. I remember when he broke his collarbone. Yeah. He came up in the weight room and sat anyway with those guys every day. That's 2 years ago, wasn't it, Woody? Yeah. All right, man. Woody's very soft-spoken, so we'll try to get him to speak up. Most memorable moment. His real name is Justin Castle.
Most memorable moment was first game here against Hillsborough. That was intense.
That's intense. Words of wisdom, advice?
Work hard. Just keep going at it.
And eat. Eat. Something I don't think he did. Who's holding you down?
Coach Emmons.
Coach E! He been... Hey, Woody, don't hit the one with no hair.
Come on, Wood.
Better get out from behind that.
Come on, Wood. Stick it, man. Stick it, man. Good job.
Hey, Woody, don't leave us here. Woody, we're over here.
You're always going the wrong way. Yeah. Watch.
Edward, get up. That's crazy. Yeah, right.
There is no doubt about it. There is no. If we walked in there right now, there's nobody on this team that weighs more than Kevin Gibson. I'll bet you anything. Except Marcus. Maybe somewhere along the line got massive. I don't know what happened. You know what? Here's what everybody forgets. We were 1-9 last year because Gibby was the fullback. Now that's nothing against Gibby. That shows where we were physically and some of the things that we had to do. And Kevin will tell you he'll be the first guy to tell you. No, I'll be the first. He'll be the second to tell you. He didn't do all the stuff in the weight room that needed to be done in the off season. But I know this. When he walked in here this summer, he was determined to be a great football player. And the defensive end play that he's given us when he's been healthy has been remarkable. We always try to tell seniors, this is for you young guys, your senior year must be your best. There's no doubt Kevin Gibson's senior year has been his best in 10-0. I bet you that's something your old man never did. You always hear what Ron did this, Ron did that. Ron never went 10-0. Did he, Oscar? He didn't go 10-0, did he? Ron?
1 year he went out there.
Oh, he's lying. He didn't do it. What's your biggest memory, Kevin?
I got two most memorable moments. First one was when we played Hillsborough. That was my first shutout of my varsity career. Never had one before.
Wow.
And second one was when we were in West Virginia. And we hit that freaking rock.
Oh,
we were all stuck. And I only remember Zach running across our backs. He didn't help anybody.
That's Zach!
And then I remember pulling up Thompson out of the water, and we got back going down the stream, and I remember him just saying, "I love you guys!"
Had to be there.
But,
Advice?
Yeah. Advice, run, lift, and think about football all the time.
Sounds good to me.
I want Micah and Coyle.
Michael and Coyle, that's straight.
Back for a loss.
Right.
It just shows you stick you hanging in and you keep working hard. Great things will happen. You've given us a year beyond what we ever thought that you'd give us. And it's 2-0. You get to celebrate together. I enjoyed coaching you. Enjoyed watching you. Love you. One down the middle.
Now, you know what? Every time we talk about Shipley, we always mention the fact he doesn't play much, and it makes him mad. And what he doesn't understand is what a compliment that is to be a guy who doesn't play a lot and come out and work every day. It says so much. It'd be easy to be Brian Johnson, come to practice every day. Gets to play all the time. But for a guy who doesn't get to play as much to come out and continue to work, says a lot about him. And you know what I remember about you? I remember a lot of things, but I remember you got really frustrated after we didn't play against Miami Trace, that big screw up and everything. You thought about not playing anymore, and Coach E, you told him you're going to miss a ride that you're not going to
miss a ride that he's never been on before in his whole life.
Yep. And here you stand, man, part of a 10-0 football team. They'll never take that away from you. Shipley's our scout team fullback, and of all these linemen, he's the one guy that got to carry the ball this year. He carried one carry for no yards. That's his last.
Probably the summer, lifting and the routing trip and the van, and that's about it.
Advice?
Work hard during the summer, don't slouch, and get it done.
Shipley worked hard. He can tell you guys that, because he did. I'm telling you, he did. Who you hitting?
Coyle and Travis Brown.
Coyle, something about you, but I don't know what it is.
Stick it! Good job. Wow.
Coach, I wasn't thinking about quitting on this man.
Come on.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Coach.
The boost.
Caboose.
Code up. My memories of Bus go clear back to the 8th grade, when their 8th grade season was over, and they came up and started squatting. And Jaron was one of those guys. For the time he came up there, just looked like he looked now. You know, he was big. He was big even back then. And you know, I think Jaron the whole time has been burdened by expectations. I think we all look at him and say, Bus, you ought to do this, and Bus, you ought to do that. And you know, the hardest thing for us to understand is we don't always see ourselves like everybody else does. But Coach E, again, said the good thing about Bus is whenever you put Bus in there, he's ready to go. If you put him in for 5 plays, he goes in and does a great job at 5 plays. Last week we stuck him in at tailback, and he went in and played tailback like we needed him to play tailback. Friday night, tomorrow night, he's going to be in there playing outside linebacker the way we need him to play outside linebacker. And he could have been like 33 other freshmen, were 8th graders when they came up. 33 of them in Jaron's class. 7 of those original 33 are still left. And Jaron's one of those guys that's been in there all the time working for us. And I know that his plan was to be the Bus, to be the guy to rush for 2,500 yards. But it wasn't in the cards, and he hung around and says, Coach, whatever you need me to do, I'm going to do. And we're 10-0 because the guys like Bus. Biggest moment, Bus.
Biggest moment?
Well, whatever, but I didn't mean to stump there.
Utica.
That's the biggest moment.
No. And going 10-0 this year.
Nice.
Work hard and always go full speed all the time, because if you don't, you'll regret it.
That's it, man. Who you hitting?
BJ, Bully, Dre, and Thompson.
My God.
Mark.
Need more dummies here.
Just jump off.
Hey, Coach, he's going to cause a train wreck. Here he comes.
Come on, Bus. Stick it. Stick it. Stick it. Oh! Hey, man.
Oh, yeah. Take it from the ground move. I'm just saying, when you get it first, man. Let's do it up here. man, you drilled me.
I know what you want to see.
Man, I cried for a week. I was.
Enjoyed having you around, eating my food, and then having my butt.
Student pot! You know, last year, again, James is a guy who, he didn't give us a whole lot in the off season. In fact, he didn't give us anything in the off season. And I remember Coach E and I were sitting around in there one morning. He said, "Coach, what are we going to do about James? So we need him. He can be a defensive tackle. We need him." And Coach E grabbed him, pulled him off the side in the hallway one day, and said, "James, what is going on, man? It's your senior year coming up. Got a chance to be great. We need you to step up and play for us." At that time, he was quite a bit heavier, but he did what he didn't want to do. He came out and started pushing the van and started running the steps. And man, I know at least the first 5 weeks of the season, I don't know if I saw a more dominating defensive player than what James Young was for us those first 5 weeks. And together, he and Johnson inside have just been absolute animals in there. And James is going to have the opportunity to play some more football if he wants to. It's up to him to decide that. But I know this, when he came this year, he brought his heart with him, and he's played every down as hard as he could, and I couldn't be prouder of him.
All right, James.
Best moment.
Best moment is 16 tackles at West Jeff, and knocking that receiver's head off in Licking Valley.
I remember both of those. And what's your advice?
Run and lift more than I did.
Whole lot more. Hey, go ahead.
Push the van more, more than we did already, and keep the heart this last year.
They say 80% of things that you regret are things that you did not do. It'd be awful to be standing here. It's going to be awful to be standing up here on the turf of Massillon. It's not going to happen to us, but if we were, and come up a little bit short because of something we didn't do, don't let that happen to you. Who are you hitting?
I'm gonna get the other half of the J&J connection, Pepper Johnson.
Comes a swarm. Oh, James. Oh, man. Okay. Heads up, yeah, but you can't do that, Herb. I know I can't do that. You ain't kid. That's a big cleaner, wasn't it? Man.
I enjoyed it. I had a second one easy. I don't know what I got in this.
Jake!
Could I take one on?
Brian.
I didn't take one.
Come on, Jake.
Hey, what could be worse than having to have Coach E be your dad and play for him, huh?
That'd be great.
Now, we all know that we could all be filing child abuse charges here if we wanted to, but we're just going to forget some of those things that happened. I remember, Jake, I go back so far with Jake because Jake's been such an important part, just even being in my house from the time he was a ball boy, and I cannot believe that Jake is a senior. And I remember there were times when a lot of people watching didn't know if Jake was ever going to be able to cut the mustard or not. And many conversations I had with his dad, with his coaches, he always said, when he's a senior, Jake's going to be ready when he's a senior. He's going to be 6'2", 215 pounds when he's a senior. His dad kept telling me. And you know what? Out of all the guys on this football team, I don't think there are any other four-year lettermen. Is anybody else that's four-year letterman other than Jake? Nope. Jake has snapped every long snap, every punt, every PAT at London High School for 4 years. And it's BJ. Oh yeah, BJ. That's when Jake was sick.
Coach E, Jake who?
But anybody that can survive riding to school with Coach E his freshman and sophomore year has got to be made of something. And it's been a pleasure to coach Jake, and Jake knows how I feel about him. What's your biggest moment?
Beating West Jeff.
61 to
Killing West Jeff.
And advice?
Running off season.
Jake did a lot of running. He always could run. Who you hit?
My dad, Edley, Shipley, and Castle.
Woo! Dad, Edley, Shipley, and Castle.
Come on, Jake! Turn it on, Jake! Yeah, good hit!
Hog's got the roll going, man. Got the forward roll.
Jake, you know what I think about you, man. More than anything, I just enjoy having you grow up around our house.
Yeah, it's a nice roll, man. Not quite the kick.
I wish I could do that.
I don't know about you guys. I was just looking at Brian as he walked down there. Somewhere along the line, he went from being a pudgy guy to being a man. And Brian has quietly lost about how many pounds is he? Lost 30 pounds during the last few months. Most of us don't even realize he's done it. Wow. And he's getting to the point where he's cut. Now, I said what I thought about James and how James had played so well the first half of the season. Not that he hasn't played the second half, but I think from the second half of the season, Brian has been absolutely unbelievable in their defensive tackle. And between Brian and James being able to just turn over the inside part of the defense to those two guys has been something we haven't been able to do. I believe Brian, gotta be careful when you say it. I believe Brian might be the best defensive lineman we've ever had here. Wow. We've had some good ones, but Brian has been absolutely a stud. And you know what? Hey, Coach E, it didn't fall out of the sky, did it? Man. He was up in that weight room, squatting and benching, and it was only when he got it in his mind that it was time to do a little bit of running that he became a new man. I think it helped getting a girlfriend too, because anyone looking at there's nothing better than to turn that film on and see Johnson and James run into the football at 270 pounds, whatever it was. They have been men. Brian, what's your biggest moment? Most memorable moment? Brian's very soft-spoken.
Speak up, Brian.
Right, West Jeff, 20 tackles. And being part of the J&J wrecking crew.
Good advice.
Keep lifting.
Keep pushing vans and keep lifting and keep on keeping on. 5 more games, right, Ben? Who you hitting? James, his twin brother.
Come on, Brian! Come on, Brian!
Sometimes we need to be tall, that's what it is.
Yeah, really. Yeah, big 6'3" guys, man. That's pretty low, isn't it?
Big fun, hasn't it, man? Think how far we come. We played you in the center, we played you tackle, we played you a lot of different places. And I will always respect you for how hard you work. It was really you, Brian. We're on our best to go. George coaching. Love you, man. Kevin Landis came closer to getting me fired than anybody in the care group ever hoped. We were up at Jonathan Alder and he was carrying the flag, and Jonathan Alder had a tunnel built, and Kevin in the 6th grade or 7th grade or 8th grade, I don't remember what it was, leads a team across the field and runs them right through the tunnel. And I got in some hot water over that one, but I forgave the shark because he was just a puppy. He's one of those guys. He and Johnson and Shipley and all those guys were there every day in the weight room, every day. And worked and worked and worked. We put him in there as a sophomore before he was ready. He got his brains beat in. We put him in last year and he played hard, but he didn't play with the confidence that he's been playing this year. And the thing that pumps me up more than anything about Shark is what a leader I've seen him become. to where he takes charge, makes sure guys aren't screwing around. And of all the guys that we had make All-League, I don't know how many of you know this chart made first team All-League. I can't think of a guy who worked harder to earn that position than Kevin Landis, and it just lets you know that there is justice in the world.
Yeah.
So when I first moved into town 11 years ago, Shark was my neighbor. And Zach used to beat up on him all the time, I think, he's a big baby. But now Zach's a big baby and Shark can beat him up. So things like yeah. What's your biggest moment?
Beating the Rump Riders.
Yeah, beating the Rump Riders. Advice?
Work in the off season, hit the weight room, push the van.
Do all the time.
Coach Bone and Coach E.
Get him, man. Too hard.
Come on, Kenneth. Stick it, Kenneth.
It's going to be a big dent in the field right there. Landing. These are two ones.
Chuck, you know what you mean, man. A lot of trip we've been on, huh? I just appreciate how hard you stay on. You always being that solid ball. Let's just make it do everything we can to make this last ball.
Yeah, good, Molly.
Favoritism.
I think it's been pretty apparent to anybody who's watched us, that Jesse has been the heart and soul emotionally of our football team. No doubt about it. There have been times I think he's probably let it get a little bit out of control, but for the most part, he's a guy that's kept us pumped up. And you know, I think back last year when Jesse had an instant in baseball where it cost him some playing time in baseball, and you know, he could have really taken that and turned it into a negative, but he turned it into a positive. He was in the weight room the next couple of days and has given us an unbelievable year on both sides of the ball. I cannot believe Jesse Mullins didn't make first team All-League, but I think probably part of that's the fact he missed a couple games with a knee injury and all that stuff. But we know what Jesse's done for our football team, and to see where he was 5 years ago and to where he is now is something just got to make everybody proud. Bully, what's your best moment?
First off, starting out Bullisfield with a 48-0 goose egg victory. I mean, we set that goal Monday, and we achieved it Friday. That was awesome. And then 10-0, and then on. We're still going.
Still playing, baby.
It ain't done.
First playoff game ever here tomorrow night. First playoff victory ever here tomorrow night. We're going to see
undefeated on Bullis.
Advice.
Run, 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 run.
Ah, I like the sound of that.
Oh, I got a big one. I got a big list. Is that all right?
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Boss Thompson, John Gillespie, Coach Wilson, Coach Emmett, the Gorboski, Willard.
That's enough, man. Come on, get
out there.
And the bird. Let me add that story. I'm not kidding. When we were whitewater rafting, I've been down there a lot of times. I've never been scared.
Don't start closing in.
But this one spot was really scary. We came around the corner, and there these guys were sitting on a rock. And they had told us, if you fall out of that boat, don't swim sideways. Don't swim sideways. Next thing we know, that boat tips, and all those guys are out in that water, and I look at Mullins, and he's swimming right where they told him.
Zach kicked him into the water.
Right, Coach?
I was there.
And I said, I'm thinking in my heart, how am I going to go home and tell Mr. Mullins that Jesse's stuck under a rock down there? I'm serious. We come around the corner, and there he's sitting up on those rocks with his arms folded.
He's been steadily ever since.
Oh, but he got crushed, man.
Let's go. Come on, Jess.
Yeah, Jesse roll. Yeah.
Great.
Hey.
He's a great kid.
John, you suck. John, you go to here.
Well, you know how I feel about you, man. I feel about all you guys. I appreciate all the calls you've given us coming back, playing in your dirt, playing the practice, playing the leadership that you've given to us. That's exciting to be a teammate, man. That I knew was there, but I just appreciate that. Hey, let's make sure that he's not all right. We're going to eat some steaks here. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
You know, I've been thinking for a couple of days what I was going to say about Zach, because there's you know, I certainly living in this house, I see a side of Zach nobody else sees. And I really understand. And I don't know if you guys will ever understand what it was like to live in our house last year. And I knew. No, I didn't say eat the food, to live there. My food too. But I couldn't be more proud of Zach, and you know, he set some records here because of everybody. But 2,300 yards, 400 yards in the game, so stuff's just, it's hard for us. But you know, I want to tell you something. I remember this. When we started one-a-days, when we started our football camp, Micah Stoke pulled up with his dad and got out of the car. Micah was a big guy. As he got out of the car, everybody kind of looked at him and said, I wonder who he is, what positions he'd play. And the comment was made, I hope he's a quarterback. And what it said to me was, there weren't guys around here that believed a whole lot in number 8. But again, as his dad, I saw a side of him nobody else saw. And I knew if this football team could get to have a little bit of success, that we would get where we wanted to go. And I remember talking to Coach Wilson 3 years ago, the end of our freshman year, when we found out some of those guys weren't going to be around. We said, we got to find a quarterback in that senior class. Said, I don't care who it is, but we got to find somebody who's going to be able to take us up to Massillon. And we all thought about it. I said, everybody tell me, who is it going to be? Because we got to put somebody there. I remember Coach Wilson coming in about 2 days later, says, Coach, the only guy I can think of is Zach. And Coach Emmons came in and said, the only guy I can think of is Zach. And he was a fullback, looked awkward when he took a snap. Next thing we know, he's a quarterback of a 10-0 football team, man. What more can be said? I couldn't be any prouder of him, and I'm glad he's my kid. What do you remember most?
First of all, most memorable moment I don't think's happened. We got 5 weeks yet, but before that, Kent Ridge, definitely celebration overtime. We never had a win like that, hadn't had a period. And last week at McLean, finishing off the league 10-0, 409 yards and everything. Advice, just keep plugging, because 3 wins last 2 years. As you're young, that's hard, but we kept plugging. 10-0 now, just keep working at it.
That, well, 3 wins doesn't even matter now, does it? It doesn't even matter. 10-0. Who's holding you down?
My 3 targets, Brandon, Josh, and Dre. You, Gillespie, and The Rock.
The Rock! Rock you! Step out of the way when you come. Make sure you step out of the way.
Come on, Zach. Come on, Hank. Stick it. Go,
I want all the players line up on the end line back there, please. Seniors, over here. Senior players.
Yeah. Didn't you hear Jesse? Run.
Oh, man, you guys don't even know how much fun. When we get done here, we're going to go straight to eat. If you don't have a ride, make sure you have a ride before you leave here. We're going to go directly to the meal.
Ride carefully. Don't race out of here.
What time is it? It's 10 till.
Guys, shake somebody's hand.
Great time. Great time. No, you're not. Reach down and the puddle where your best friend's face used to be. Quit doing what you do.
Oh, that was a long time.
I don't know the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. I'll buck for it. Don't worry.
Although you shanked me, man, I still love you anyway, man. Sorry, man.
Even though you still couldn't tackle me, you couldn't run over me, I still tackled you, man. Keep on going. I'm going to come back when I see you guys in college.
I know we run
I'm like,
Way to go, George.
Shut up, dog.
Trump.
Hey, your next run of all.
You need to lead somebody somewhere.
BJ. I'll get her next year. That's all I can think of, man. I'm getting you church.
Good luck, man. Thanks.
Hey, man, I'm behind the truck.
Just keep doing what you're doing. You'll be good next year.
Keep winning for us.
Keep surfing.
Knock people with cameras down.
Scott, keep going, them.
Keep on that water, Scott.
Stay away from the group.
We'll see more scores.
Remember your play?
Every time you were down there for that tackle, you go with that moment.
All right, this line's really tight.
Excuse me.
Hey, thanks for giving me the game. That means a lot. Keeping me going and stuff, man. That means something. Thanks, man.
It's been great. It's been great. Who's going to cheap shot you next year? Who is going to cheap shot you next year? Best one.
Don't break my record.
Oh, you're welcome.
Double beard going. Hey, you know what? This guy pumps me up. He don't know.
Not that much.
He pumps me up.
What's up? How you doing?
Hey, man. You're the dude next year. You're the dude. It's all good. Dude, you're the dude.
Me, Gorboski.
The boat? Nah, you ain't no Boski.
No, Gorboski.
Gorboski, yeah.
Scott.
You three, man. You and Dre.
Give me a shot.
Corbin, man. And hey, we ain't done. We ain't done. We're still going to jail, man.
No, I was just outside.
We go to jail every Friday.
Man, I was I had a hold of like one life jacket. And so what?
Hey, man, just hit the playbook a little bit, man. Have confidence in yourself, man.
No, they weren't getting in. And like they couldn't get in because they were holding on to each other.
I'll talk to you later. I can't talk in front of the camera.
Foreman.
What's wrong?
Lockdown. Don't get me killed.
Come on, man. Come on.
We're going to say the camera, Zach. We're going to say the camera.
How you doing? Yo, make sure all the specials are right, okay? Everybody knows where we go, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Hey, Scotty, do it. Good luck to you in the future.